To another video. This morning I'm going to continue with a series that I started way back more than a year ago, where I was looking at the songs, my favourite songs, and I was going through the latter part of the 60s. I recently found another music site on YouTube called Listography, and as the name suggests, they listed their favourite albums, listed their favourite albums by artists and also songs. I've watched some videos. The three Americans that do the site are probably half my age. However, their presentation is quite good, and it's the sort of style of video that I like. But, and this is the big but, I find their dismissive aspect to certain songs or albums at a particular time when they weren't actually even born a little bit hard to stomach. They don't do it that often, but they seem to have absolutely no concept of the fact that people were alive at the time that these records were released, and that we had a very soft spot for some of them, and for them to dismiss them out of hand because they don't like them, because they've heard them too often on the radio, blah blah blah, I find a trite, really arrogant and egocentric. So, having had my rant, I'll be interested to hear from any other of my viewers on that topic. Okay, tolerance is necessary, to be sure, but criticism of albums or approval of albums didn't start when YouTube started. I was reading reviews from magazines, music magazines, way before YouTube had ever been invented. Now back to myself. I'm going to do a top songs video, a top 20 broken down into two videos. I'm going to do 11 to 20 in the first one, and then top 10. I've done this for others. I did 65 and 66, I seem to recall, and I also have on my computer these videos, including the music, if you so desire. Of course, I didn't upload the ones with music because of copyright restrictions, but I do have them, and for any viewer that would appreciate my commentary plus the music in a longer show, just get in touch and tell me your email, and I will send it to you. Okay, let's get on with it then. Second take, courtesy of the garbage truck that parks outside our house and makes an hellish row while these young boys shout at the top of their voices. 20 then, Tobacco Road by Nashville Teens. It's a blues song written and first recorded by John D. Loudermilk in December '59 and was released in 1960. But it became a big hit for the Nashville Teens, their only hit, it has to be said, in 1964. Loudermilk, the original, was framed as a folk song. It's a semi-autobiographical tale of growing up in North Carolina. To the Nashville Teens, their garage rock, blues rock style was quite bold for its time, featuring prominent piano, electric guitar and bass drum parts, and a dual lead vocal, very unusual at the time. Mickey Most produced it, as he had those tough edge pop feeling songs for one, The Animals. Tobacco Road was a transatlantic pop hit reaching number 6 in the UK and number 14 in the US. So that's number 20 in my top ranking songs for 1964. Next up at 19 is I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself by Dusty Springfield. Oh, I love Dusty, I tell you. It's a song written by Burt Bacharach and lyricist Hal David, but it was recorded in a session at Olympic Studios in Westminster with production credited to the owner of Philips, Johnny France, although Springfield later stated that her solo Philips tracks were self-produced. It was arranged, though, by Ivor Ramond, who conducted his orchestra. The personnel on the session included Big Jim Sullivan on guitar, Bobby Graham on drums, and Springfield had brought back I Just Don't Know from an overnight trip to New York City, where she met up with Bacharach in February 1964. It's an absolute classic, available on YouTube, and of course, as always, the links to these songs will be in the description. So please get to listen to them. Or, as I mentioned earlier, you can contact me and I will segue them in between my comments. 18, Needles and Pins by The Searchers. It was a rock song first credited to American writers Jack Nish and Sonny Bono from a Sonny and Cher duet. Jackie DeShannon recorded it in '63 and it was a minor hit. But The Searchers heard British performer Cliff Bennett perform it at a club in Hamburg, and they instantly wanted it to be their next single. So Pirate Records obliged, and it was released in January '64. Went to number 1 in the UK, Ireland and South Africa, and it was got up to 13 in the Billboard Hot 100 Singles charts in the US. And I can remember it vividly. I used to sing the chorus, and bearing in mind I was only 10 at the time, so it really had an impact on me. 17 then, A World Without Love by Peter and Gordon. This song was originally written by Paul McCartney, but they decided they didn't want to use it, the Beatles we're talking about, although it's attributed as a Lennon-McCartney song, as they all were. In the UK, it reached number 1 on both the Record Retailer and New Musical Express charts. In the United States, A World Without Love topped the Billboard Hot 100. It's a lovely little sort of ballad, beautifully sung, and I like it a lot. Okay, let's move on to my 16th choice in my top 20 for 1964 songs, and it's My Guy by Mary Wells. This was a hit single for her in 1964 for the Motown label. Well, what else? It was written and produced by Smokey Robinson, and he's pretty well known in Motown circles. And the song actually described a woman's rejection of a sexual advance, but an affirmation of her fidelity to her boyfriend, who is her ideal, and with whom she's happy despite his ordinary physique and looks. This became the biggest hit in Wells's career, and in fact they dried up after this. She became the female star but couldn't build on it. She was top of the singles charts in 1964 on the Billboard, and also on the Cashbox magazine R&B chart. It was her last hit as a solo artist, although she did chip in with some more success on duets with one Marvin Gaye. I love this song, and it really was very silky on the radio waves back in those days when I was only 10. So it's my choice at number 16. Next up on 15 is Can't Buy Me Love, the Beatles. Well, it's an absolute classic. Released in March 1964 as an A-side, it was in fact the Beatles' 6th single. Written by Paul, but again credited to the pair of them. The song was included in the group's album A Hard Day's Night, and also featured in the Richard Lester film of the same name. A very amusing film, I might add. The single topped the charts in the UK, the US, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, Sweden, and probably every other country on the planet surface. In the UK, it was the 4th highest single of the 60s. And while in Paris, the Beatles stayed at a 5-star George V hotel, and there was an upright piano moved in to assist them with their writing, and that is apparently the location where one Paul McCartney wrote this particular song. However, when George Martin got to hear it, he felt that the song needed a few subtle changes. He needed a tag at the end and at the beginning as a kind of intro, so he took the first 2 lines of the chorus and changed the ending and said, let's have these lines, guys. And by altering the second phase, we can get back into the verse pretty quickly. It's all a bit technical for me, but the guys said, not a bad idea, we'll do it that way. So the song's verse is a 12-bar blues in structure, a formula that the Beatles seldom applied to their material, it has to be said. We all know who the Beatles are, but Lennon played acoustic rhythm on this one, and Harrison a double-track lead guitar and 12-string as well. So there we have it, Can't Buy Me Love. Then I Can't Explain by The Who, written by Pete Townsend, produced by Shel Talmy, was a single released at the back end of '64 in the States, but didn't come out in the UK until January '65, but I've still put it in here. It was their second single release, but the first as The Who. The previous one was as The High Numbers. The song predominantly features backing vocals, and on that you can hear bang bang repeatedly. Roger Daltrey apparently in interview echoed Townsend's comments about the heavy influence of the Kinks with regard to this song. And here, this is what he said: we already knew Pete could write songs, but it never seemed a necessity in those days to have your own stuff, because there was this wealth of untapped music that we could get from the States. But then bands like the Kinks started to make it, and they were probably the biggest influence on us. And they were certainly a huge influence on Pete, and he wrote I Can't Explain. Not as a direct copy, but certainly it's very derivative of Kinks music. Townsend referred to I Can't Explain as a song written by some 18-year-old kid, meaning himself, of course, about the fact he can't tell his girlfriend he loves her because he's taken too many Dexedrine tablets. Well, I believe that. It was certainly a popular little drug at the time. Daltrey's on tambourine here, and there's some backing vocals from the Ivy League and some piano from Perry Ford on here, plus the usual guys, of course, Daltrey, Entwistle Moon, and of course Townsend. So there we are, I Can't Explain, great song. To 13, As Tears Go By Marianne Faithfull. It's written by Jagger and Richard, of course, but they didn't want to use it, and Rolling Stones manager Andrew Lou Oldham, who also was responsible for the creation of this song in part, he suggested Marianne record it, and it was released as a single in 1964. The song peaked at number 9 in the UK, and it also did well in Ireland. According to Jagger biographer Philip Norman, the song was mainly created by Jagger in cooperation with session guitarist Big Jim Sullivan. I don't know exactly what Richard thought about that, but anyway, Oldham subsequently gave the ballad to Marianne, who was only 17 at the time, and he played the demo for her with Jagger singing and Sullivan on acoustic. He handed me a scrawled lyric, she said, and I went back into the studio and did it. As soon as I heard the cor anglais playing the opening bars, I knew it was going to work. After a couple of takes, it was done. Andrew came and gave me a big hug. The melody features a distinctive oboe line, the cor anglais. It reached number 9 in the UK singles charts and launched Faithful's career as a major singer. The Stones eventually did record it and it popped up on an album. But anyway, as tears go by, I love it. Marianne Faithfull. And then It's All Over Now by the Rolling Stones. It's a song written by Bobby Womack and his sister, I believe, Shirley. First released by the Valentinos, which featured Bobby Womack. The Rolling Stones had their first #1 hit in the UK with this song in July 1964. They recorded their version at Chess Studios in Chicago after hearing the original on American radio. Years later, Womack was said to note that in an interview that he had told Sam Cooke, a friend of his, he didn't want the Stones to record their version of the song, and that he had told Jagger to get his own song. However, Cooke convinced him to let the Rolling Stones record it, and 6 months later on, after receiving the royalty check for the song, Womack told Cooke that Mick Jagger could have any song he wanted. Lovely story. Of course, it was the first #1 hit for the Stones, and it was also a big hit in the States. Their third single, released in America, stayed in the Billboard Hot 100 for 10 weeks, but only peaked at 26. And in his 2010 autobiography, Life, which I've read and I've listened to rather on podcast, absolutely riveting listen. Richards agreed that it was not one of his best songs after John Lennon criticised his guitar work. However, other famous people in the music community whose opinion needs to be listened to, one, for example, Bruce Springsteen, rank it as one of the most inspired guitar breaks ever recorded, and one that's still very hard to mimic. So, you take the bones out of that one. Brian Jones was on 12-string electric rhythm guitar on this. Otherwise, the band, well, you don't need me to go through the Rolling Stones, the personnel on that. One in this segment, the top songs of 1964, 20 through to 11, is number 11. It's Gloria by Them, written by Van Morrison, of course, and originally recorded by Morrison's band Them in 64. It was a B-side then. The song became a garage rock staple and a part of many rock bands' repertoires, and it's particularly memorable for its Gloria chorus when he spells out the letters of the word. I'm sure any decent rock fan will be familiar with this. Very easy to play apparently, simple 3-chord song, very popular with those learning to play guitar. But according to Morrison, he wrote Gloria while performing with the Monarchs in Germany in 1963. He was about 18 years old at the time. He then started to perform at the Maritime Hotel in Belfast with a renamed band, the Gamblers, which eventually morphed into Them. He would ad-lib the lyrics as he performed sometimes, stretching the songs to 15 to 20 minutes. After signing a contract, though, with Decca, then went to London for a recording session at Decca Studios on April 1964, and Gloria was one of the songs recorded on that day. Besides Morrison present were Billy Harrison on guitar, Alan Henderson on bass guitar, Ronnie Millins drums, and Patrick John Macaulay on keyboards. Rowe brought in session musicians for Van, and Arthur Greenslade on organ and Billy Graham on drums were considered to be unlikely participants in this, since them members were considered too inexperienced to record it. There's a dispute about this, but only they will tell you the truth. Anyway, them constituted the first rock group apparently to have true drummers. It's a tremendous song anyway. And Jimmy Page is rumoured to have played second guitar, but others denied this. But anyway, it's my number 11. It's Gloria. It's by them, featuring Van Morrison, and it's an absolute stinker. I mean, a classic stinker. Stinker being positive in this regard. So that completes the first half of this rundown. I'll be back with 1 to 10 shortly, and as I repeat, I will list the songs so you can hear them on YouTube, but of course you've got the ads to contend with, lucky us. But if you'd like to have them dovetailed into my commentary here, I can do that, and let me know. Send me an email to my email address, which is AstaHugo1998. Oh, sugar me. AstaHugo99 at gmail.com. Okay, that's it. Bye.